Deep inside Kaduna's forests, there are places no road leads to, places where footsteps disappear and screams are never heard. This is where travelers vanish, where phone calls decide who lives and who dies. They are not ghosts, they are not myths. This is the true story of Kaduna's forest kidnappers. The forests of Kaduna were not always places people feared. Long before headlines and sirens, before ransom calls and midnight knocks, these forests were simply land, vast, quiet, and indifferent. They stretched across the map like an unbroken green thought, connecting communities that depended on them for firewood, farming paths, and seasonal grazing. Life moved slowly then. Roads were dusty, nights were dark, and danger when it came was the kind people understood. What changed was not a single event, but a slow rearrangement of reality. In the early years, the men who would later be called kidnappers did not wake up with that name. Many were herders pushed further from traditional roots. Others were young men who grew up watching opportunities evaporate. Schools without teachers, farms without buyers, towns without work. Some drifted towards cattle rustling, not as a grand criminal plan, but as survival wrapped in desperation. A stolen cow could feed a family. A few successful raids could buy time. The forest offered cover. They always had. Over time, small groups learned that the forest was not just a hiding place. It was a shield. When security patrols were thin and roads stretched long and lonely, escape became easier than arrest. The forest absorbed footsteps. It swallowed sound. It erased trails. What began as theft evolved quietly into something more calculated. Then came the roads. Highways that cut through Kaduna became arteries of movement. Bosses, traders, families traveling for weddings, funerals, or work. These roads also became predictable. Predictability is opportunity. A stalled vehicle, a narrow stretch flanked by trees, nightfall, motorcycles without plates, guns raised not in rage but in routine. The first kidnappings were not mass operations, they were selective. A traveler here, a merchant there. Ransoms were modest, negotiations were crude. Many victims were released quickly, shaken but alive. Communities whispered. Police reports were filed and forgotten. The crime did not yet feel permanent, but the forest was learning. As money entered the system, organization followed. Groups grew larger. Roles emerged. Scouts watched roads and villages. Armed men handled the seizures. Others learned how to make phone calls that sounded calm, even polite, while describing unimaginable consequences. A leader, often called Kachala, made decisions and enforced discipline. The forest camps became semi-permanent, hidden deeper with each successful operation. Fear became currency. Villages near forest edges felt it fast. Night raids replaced highway stops. People were taken from their homes, dragged past fields they once farmed, forced to walk until their legs failed. In the camps, life was stripped down to survival. There was no comfort, no certainty, only waiting. Waiting for negotiations, waiting for mercy, waiting for an ending no one could predict. The kidnappers themselves were not immune to this life. They slept on bare ground. Injuries festered. Hunger was common. Loyalty was enforced by threat, not trust. New recruits were often younger, angrier, and more reckless. Weapons multiplied. With them came confidence and cruelty. Then the crimes escalated. Schools were attacked because they were soft targets and carried high emotional value. Trains were targeted because they represented scale. Entire communities were forced to negotiate together, pooling money to buy back their own. Each successful operation taught the forest a dangerous lesson. Pressure works. The outside world struggled to keep up. Security operations were announced. Arrests were made. Some leaders were killed. But the forest adapted. Camps moved. Groups split and reformed. Nicknames replaced real names. Even when a leader fell, another stepped forward, inheriting weapons, routes, and fear. Media coverage surged, then faded, then surged again. Each wave brought new names, some real, some myths. To the victims, names mattered less than voices on the phone and the sound of motorcycles at night. To the fighters, the forest became a trap, disguised as freedom. Living was dangerous, disobeying was deadly. By the time the nation fully grasped the scale of the crisis, the forest had already changed its role. It was no longer just a place on the map. It was an economy, a system, a living network built on fear and broken trust.